Over 1.3 million people die every year in road fatalities. Barry, at Provizio, you've built a hardware and software accident prevention platform that's helping to overcome this global challenge. How do all the pieces of the system come together to reduce road fatalities?
We thought about the problem differently. Let's solve the road problem and the road death problem first, and then think about autonomy later. But it tends to be similar stacks, right? So you need to be able to see the world in 360 degrees, right? You need to also understand the velocity of all objects within that, and you need to understand where they're going and what they're doing. But the other side of it is you need to do it at a cost point that everyone can have it.
That's accessible.
Absolutely. And what kind of scared me a little bit working in the autonomous industry was an awful lot of the sensors and softwares didn't even work in inclement weather, for example. And I'm from Ireland, right? We specialize in inclement weather, right? So that's what we did. We built a platform from the ground up that focused on building that we can see the world in 360 degrees. We can see it in all weather. We can see beyond what humans are capable of, but also we can understand that.
So what are the components of hardware and software that come together to help prevent accidents?
On the hardware level, you're basically looking at a new type of radar, 5-dimensional radar as we call it. So it's like it sees the world in 3D, then understands the velocity of all objects within that, but then it has perception built in. So that's the first key piece of hardware. And we fuse that with vision cameras. We want to get to a stage of predicting accidents before they happen. So a very, very simple example would be, most car accidents are rear endings. And you talked about those road deaths, 50% of them are rear endings, right? So why do we rear end someone? Because we didn't know they were going to brake, right? We can see the car 5 cars ahead, apply his brakes, and we can bring you to a stop.
You can anticipate that you're going to have to come to a stop.
You're going to have to come to a stop in a manner that the guy behind you doesn't rear end you either, right?
One of the things that people always talk about is at what point should the car take over? In that example, it seems pretty straightforward to me at least. Yeah. Once the brakes are applied 5 cars ahead, you know you're going to have to slow down. The car should take over. But it's a really big ethical debate going on. How do you see that and as it applies to your solution?
So what our focus is, let's build up the data. Let's augment human drivers. Let's make you a better driver, a better decision maker.
That wouldn't be hard to do with me, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. I've had a few crashes. This comes from the heart. But make you a better driver, build up that data, but also learn from you as a driver. Not this thing of let's get the human out and we'll just let the robot drive. I think it was a crazy approach because there was no data to prove that you could do it. And over time, where we want to get to on the ethical level is we want to get to a place where it's no longer ethical to let a human drive in this scenario. And we have the data points that prove it. So for example, in fog, our system can see 400 meters in fog,
whereas
where
a
people
human
can see 10.
seeing 30, 50 feet or something.
Exactly. It would be ethically wrong to let you continue to drive in that scenario. And I think that's where we have to get it right. But we have to build up the data, and it's going to take time. I mean, this isn't a 1, 2, 3 year time horizon thing. This is 10 years, build up the data and show that we can do this.
One of the elements of the Provizio platform is making or moving some decisions to the edge versus in the cloud. How do you go about making the decisions on what fits where in decision making?
Vision is very processing intensive, right? Cameras, I mean, you can imagine it's everything we see and you're trying to process all that. And 99% of that data you're throwing away. So if you've got something like our 5D perception stack, what it does is it gets rid of an awful lot of that data on the edge. So that's the real edge processing is about that. And then it just makes those super critical decisions like the ones we talked about on the edge. You're not doing everything there. So vehicles from kind of 2024, 2025 are going to be shipping with a ton of GPU on them, right? And so we're kind of hitting that at the right time, that when our tech is on there, we'll utilize that and be able to get, lots of data. And you've the power of the fleet then. And I think that's where the real power is coming. And I think that's where the automakers realize that they'll try.
They're going to see it and they're going to want to adopt it.
They own the fleet, right? As it is right now, they're the guys that own the fleet.
Barry, for Provizio, the KPMG Global Tech Innovator Competition, what was exciting about it for you to participate?
It was new. It was post-COVID, first competition we entered. The big thing for me was what it meant to the team. We've got incredible engineers that are working their butts off, don't get the recognition for it. Barry telling them they're great isn't going to be enough. And just to be able to bring home that prize and say, hey, someone recognized that, I think it meant an awful lot to the team and therefore me.